Hello everyone, hope you're all well, and thanks very much for all the support with my videos. Like, shares and comments, I'm very grateful, and thanks to everybody who's subscribed to my channel on YouTube. Today I want to speak about the National Economic Dialogue that was held in Dublin a number of days ago in Dublin Castle. This comes on the back of a poverty and well-being summit that was held by Simon Harris a number of days ago that I spoke about in my previous video, that was attended by Gordon Brown, Mr. Austerity himself in the UK, ex-finance minister in the UK and Prime Minister also as well. And Simon Harris has said that he wants Ireland to be the best country for a child to grow up in. Now, isn't this ironic, coming from somebody like Simon Harris, who has spent well over a decade in government destroying the lives of more and more people in our country? We see the huge amount of children, for instance, on waiting lists, children in emergency accommodation. Just down the road from an emergency accommodation facility just down here, where there's 28 families currently in this accommodation. Just down there you can see the big high bars, and that is for families, a lot of families who are evicted from the insecure private rented sector. There's one family that are there over 3 years. This is absolutely shameful, but again, this isn't the spin that Simon Harris is trying to portray. And as well, Bernardo's report came out today to say that 1 in 2 families are cutting back on basic essentials such as food, medicines for their children and for their families. And 1 in 4 are always worried about providing for their children. Now, this comes on the back of this report where 4 in 5 people who responded to this poll said the cost of living increases have negatively impacted their children and families. Now, this is the same Simon Harris that says he wants Ireland to be the best country for children to grow up in. Now, isn't this ironic in the extreme when you think of Simon Harris, where you see the amount of children into poverty and deprivation on the increase, and it comes on the back of Vincent de Paul, who had a survey recently and said their calls have gone up over 70% from 2021 to 2023. So more people are struggling to get by because the cost of living increases on more and more people. But of course, Simon Harris does want to portray this in his speech to the National Economic Dialogue, which was brought forward, coincidentally. Normally isn't held to the end of June, start of July every year, but due to the impending local and European elections, Simon Harris actually made a speech of this, which is actually unusual because Simon Harris and the Taoiseach normally does not attend this economic dialogue. So isn't that more spin doctrine by Harris? And it's also very, very fascinating because he spoke at the dialogue about the 2.7 million people at work, and he spoke about the sense of security people need and certainty, and also about looking after a future Ireland fund. What about the present Ireland fund, where we have 14,000 in emergency accommodation, 4,000 children in facilities like this barricaded facility down here on Clonard Road in Kimmage? We won't talk about that, Simon, but that goes against the narrative, and the mainstream won't be talking about those issues and connecting those dots for you. He also spoke about small businesses and said that small businesses will be a priority. Well, in Ireland, 2 small businesses are closing down every day in Ireland. We see the huge cost of living disaster. We've seen more people struggling to get by day to day. And high energy costs, high costs of doing business with the VAT increases, and as well the rates on small businesses are very prohibitive. I was talking to a small business owner yesterday who has a very small shop, pays over €2,000 in rates, and gets absolutely next to nothing back for those rates he pays every year. And he thinks he's going to last for the next 6 months before he goes out of business. So this is what Simon Harris is really doing to small businesses in Ireland at the behest of the big corporations and the super rich. He also spoke about a strong economy. And this is actually fascinating. This is funny. If it wasn't so ludicrous, he said children need an equal chance. Well, some children are more equal than others, Simon. And he also said that he wanted to break down barriers to education. So what's he trying to educate our workforce so they can emigrate? That's what he's trying to do with younger people. And home ownership as well is a priority of his government. Well, home ownership is at the lowest level in Irish society at the moment, and falling because of sky-high house prices. And yeah, who does that benefit? Benefits Simon Harris as his brigade. And he also spoke about dignity in ill health and old age. Well, there's not much dignity for a lot of people who can't access a public health nurse. The many people who are now accessing intensive care facilities, for instance. Even today a report came out to say Ireland has less than half the amount of required intensive care facilities. And obviously included with that would be nurses in terms of the OECD report, which estimates that we need about 12 per 100,000 beds, but currently we only have 6, which is less than half the average amounts in the OECD countries. So again, Simon Harris, and this is pandemic preparedness again. Here we go again. More lunacy and more lack of investment and more nurses being forced to emigrate because of sky high accommodation costs and all those other issues as well regarding staff and pay as well. And he also spoke about a new social contract. Now this is interesting because the social contract is well and truly broken. He spoke about he wants to make this a republic of equality of opportunity for all, where you have access to healthcare, homes, education, blah 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 blah. Absolute nonsense from Simon Harris. And you swear, he said, in the lifetime of this government, he's only a few months left in his government before he's out of office. So I think we should give Simon Harris a serious wake-up call. And he also spoke about housing and homelessness, and he said about the Housing Commission's report, which gave 83 recommendations that he's looking to implement. Isn't this wonderful, Simon? Absolutely wonderful. That the government that created the housing disaster and is exacerbating it through the huge crises we have through immigration. And of course, he spoke about immigration and he spoke about a hidden labour force. He said everybody who's in Ireland who needs a job can get a job. Well, it's all about low pay in Ireland because, as I said, IBEC are looking to lobby against pay increases, to increases the minimum wage where you have more workers in poverty. And what's the best resource for this? So the angle is to get cheaper labour in, and the cheaper labour would be more exploitation through the immigration. And he's looking at more temporary work permits also as well. More permits again for more foreign workers. So while younger people in Ireland are educated, and they break down the barriers to education to educate them and export them through immigration, and what we do, import cheaper labour to keep the profits high and bigger, deepening inequalities in society. So rather than tackling big business, he's more interested in tackling ordinary people with the cost of living disaster. Energy bills are about 70 to 80% higher than they were about 2 to 3 years ago, and over the last number of days there are companies saying we'll give you a 10% decrease in your energy bills. But again, who benefits? And the Irish government are more interested in bowing down to the European Union, following along with the sanctions, which is deindustrialising Europe and Ireland also as well. And the angle now is to keep subsidising big business and provide more family supports. And who pays for that? Again, it's through taxation. And who pays for it? Ordinary people. And hardly the big corporations who get away scot-free, not the billionaires. And when you consider in Ireland the top 1% of the society have over a quarter of the wealth, and the top 10% have 2/3 of the wealth. And the bottom 50% in Ireland have 1% of the wealth. So let's see how all this goes. Who benefits? The super rich, the wealthy, the big corporations. They're the ones that benefit from these crises. And when Harris talks about a new social contract, he's talking about a new erosion of basic rights for ordinary people, a new attack on ordinary working class people. They won't talk about the class argument in Ireland. They'll just continue talking about a new social contract and all this absolute spin, waffle, and complete and utter nonsense. And anybody who falls for it really, really needs to get a reality check and figure it out for themselves, I think, at this stage as well. As I highlighted as well, the inhumanity you can see of the situation with more and more people being forced into homelessness. Many children in terms of disability services absolutely being treated disgracefully. And again, he's trying to say he's the new man that's going to lead us through the disasters of his self-perpetuated policies and self-manufactured policies, and it's going to worsen, not to mention the immigration chaos as well that his government is creating, that who benefits from? The super rich, wealthy, the bosses, the big commercial property owners. Again, follow the money, and who benefits and who pays for it? Ordinary people are told to pull up and shut up with all these policies. And this is more the waffle that's going to come from Simon Harris and his government over the next number of weeks. Throw a few crumbs. Don't fall for it, because they're complete and utter, completely disingenuous, complete liars, and everything they make up is the complete nonsense, because what they do is try and paper over the cracks to keep enabling the super rich and wealthy in our society. So thanks for all the support on my videos. June the 7th, vote Peter Dooley #1 in the Kimmage-Rathmines area. And thanks again for the support, really appreciate it. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. So from Dublin, take care. I'll talk to you all soon. Slán, bye bye.